structure which was based on religion and which was based on caste. And that is why we often encounter situations of value conflict and many disorganizing forces that have cropped up in times. After attaining independence, India has become a democratic country. We all know about it, that India is a democratic country, and by democracy, I mean of the people, by the people, for the people. A lot of changes occurred in the traditional structure of our society. Democratic system in India was based on the principles of what? Equality, liberty, freedom, universal adult franchise. When I say universal adult franchise, it means electing your representative through voting. And after this, social mobility picked up speed, and later industrialization, urbanization, politicization further gave a boost to number and opportunity of social mobility. Then there is cultural status that was blended in the traditional Indian society harmoniously, which means that a person who was in a high position culturally was also financially in a better position. Another eminent sociologist from India, whose name was Professor Yogendra Singh, has rightly said that combination of power, wealth, and cultural superiority is breaking under the influence of social law, education, industrialization, democratization, and urbanization. So, what did Yogendra Singh, Professor Yogendra Singh, said? He was an eminent sociologist. He is an eminent sociologist, and he very rightly said that the combination of power, wealth, cultural superiority is breaking under the influence of social law, education, industrialization, democratization, and urbanization. Broadly speaking, history tells us that in British time, when Britishers were in India, new awareness emerged in Indian society. Due to industrialization and modernization, lot of economic and political and social changes were taking place at that point of time. On the one hand, people in India had fear of dominating and exploitative attitude of British, and on the other hand, they instilled the spirit of nationalism in them to fight and defeat the enemy. Thus, historically speaking, nationalism in India was born during the British colonialism. During that time period, nationalism was born at that point of time. Next is Indian society during again colonial period. Indian society encountered Western culture during the colonial period. Culture in both the societies, Indian and Western societies, was opposite to each other. So mutual culture exchange was natural. Both in Western society and Indian society, they had different culture. They were opposite to each other. But there was mutual cultural exchange that was natural. And this is a period which script the launching of new era in Indian society. Various external, internal processes of change were activated during this period. Internal processes were Sanskritization and urbanization, and other were Westernization, modernization, secularization, and industrialization. Modernization and Westernization are the consequences of our contact, the Indian society, India's contact with the Britain. British took almost a century to establish their rule in India, and naturally, they imposed their new technique, structure on Indian soil to establish and maintain their rule over India. Modern technique of production, new market mechanism in trade system, upgrading and development of connectivity, transportation, and communication. All India nature of civil services based on bureaucracy, formal and written laws were significant steps that prepared the background of modernization in India. Indeed, the British did not make the Indian society progressive. Rather, they took all these steps to protect their interests. That is why they stayed away from the main social religious tradition of Indian society and showed minimum intervention in them. And consequently, modernity and traditions are flowed in Indian society in a parallel manner. Tradition and modernity never came to a meeting point and caused various problems in society in India. Now, emergence of a new learned class. When did this take place in India? emergence of learned class. The new opportunities for education, the government jobs gave birth to a new class of learned people. And these people were compelled to think about the pathetic condition of our society. So, learned people were important, Vidwan, intellectual, those people were important because they had education, and they were compelled to think about the whatever pathetic condition of our society. In India, social reforms took place under the leadership of this class. The major objective of these social reform movements were eradicating whatever social evil were present at that point of time in Indian society. For example, we can say sati pratha, restraint on widow remarriage, and untouchability and discrimination, all these things. So these reform movement under the leadership of those learned people took place, and their main objective was to eradicate whatever evils were present in that point at that point of time in Indian society. Also stressed the need to educate the people, especially Indian women and their education, women and education, their education, that was also very important. At the same time, these reformers highlighted the achievement of Indian throughout Indian history for the whole world to see. So Indian reform movement supported the process of modernization. Then emergence of national spirit was natural in the learned class and emerging capitalist class. It was in their interest that British should modify their policies in such a manner that gives maximum participation to Indians in matters of policy making, administration, and encourage and protect traders and industrialists. So these class interests gave birth to national movement, which gradually changed into the freedom movement. Now, this national movement slowly included the farmers, the workers in their movement, and fought for the freedom together. So, it was natural for the national movement to demand modernization, and especially political and economic modernization. This movement culminated in the freedom of India in 1947. So, whatever movement was taking place, ultimately that led to independence of India in the year 15th August 1947. Now, let us move ahead and discuss what are the characteristics of Indian society. What were the characteristics of Indian society? And when I say characteristics, it means features, major, the core feature of Indian society, or in Hindi or Punjabi, you can say Visheshta, the Visheshta Indian society, right? Indian society has diverse cultural, language, religions, and tradition. We all know that. It is known for its deep historical roots and coexistence of modernity with age old customs. The country's social fabric is marked by a complex interplay of factors such as caste system, family structure, rural urban dynamics, and all of which shape the everyday lives and identity of its people. As India continues to evolve, it embraces rapid urbanization, economic growth, while grappling with the social issues and striving for greater equality and inclusion. So this rich and multifaceted society offers a unique lens through which to explore themes of diversity, change, and resilience. Right. So India, with this, yes, India is a rich country. India. When we talk about India, the very popular phrase which is used for India is unity in diversity. So yes, people of different. So let us discuss now diversity and pluralism. Diversity is important. India is a diverse country. People belonging to different background, they reside in India. So Indian society is a diverse society. Yes, diversity is integral, important, very important, essential feature or characteristics of Indian society. People in India follow various faiths. They celebrate multiple festivals, multicultural practices, etc. And there's a unity in diversity. I was talking about unity in diversity phrase. This is very popular and important phrase that we belong to different background, we have different culture, we speak different languages, and even after that, there is something called unity among all Indians. So this is one of the most important characteristics of Indian society, that is unity in diversity. And some of the main diversity present in Indian society are discussed in detail. For example, diversity and pluralism. Festival. When you talk about festivals and festivities are great platform for promoting community sentiments and harmony among the people. And when I talk about festival, people visit each other's houses in Diwali, Holi, Eid, Baisakhi, Christmas. These are the festivals which we have in India. So we have Christmas, we have Baisakhi, we have Eid, we have Holi, we have Diwali, and many more to celebrate in India with great zeal and enthusiasm. When you talk about art and forms, be it classic music like Carnatic or Hindustani, or dance forms like Kathak, Bharatnatyam, Odissi, Kuchipudi, Bhangra, or craft and painting like Valli art, Mandala art, Basoli painting, or any other type of art form. So these art forms are special characteristics of Indian society, and people from all over the world are attracted to these art forms. Second one, if I talk about language, भाषा, हिंदुस्तान एक ऐसा देश है जहाँ पे अलग अलग किस्म की भाषा, आप थोड़े से 20 किलोमीटर दूर जाएंगे तो जो लैंग्वेज है, उसका टोन है, वो चेंज हो जाता है. सो लैंग्वेज इन इंडियन सोसाइटी इज नॉट जस्ट अ मीन्स ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन. ये सिर्फ बात करने का मीन्स नहीं है, but it is a symbol of cultural identity, historical legacy, and social structure. So, linguistic diversity of India adds to its richness and complexity, making it a unique and fascinating aspect of nation's social fabric. So, India is a home to hundreds of languages and thousands of dialects. And Constitution of India recognizes 22 scheduled languages, including Hindi, Bengali, Telugu, Marathi, Tamil, Urdu, Gujarati, Malayalam, Kannada, Odia, Punjabi, Assami, among others. And each language has its unique literature, unique tradition, and cultural expression. So, cuisines, when you talk about khana, cuisine, so a Punjabi khana or Himachali or Rajasthani, so there is a varied culinary practices, from spicy South Indian food to the rich gravies of North India. So you go to any place, you will find different kind of cuisines in India. So yes, India is known for its rich tapestry of religious diversity also, and it is a birthplace of major world religions such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, and it is home to significant population of Muslim, Christian, and other religious communities. So when I see all these religions are there in India, India has a long history of religious harmony with communities coexisting, influencing each other culturally, socially. However, there have been instances of religious conflict and communal violence. And factors contributing to these conflicts include political manipulation, economic disparity, and social issues. The caste system. Caste system is also one of the, I told you in the beginning of the lecture that this is one of the unique feature of Indian society. है ना? So caste system in India is a complex and ancient social hierarchy that has significantly influenced the country's social, economic, political landscape. Rooted in Hinduism, it traditionally divides society into four main categories. We all know that Varna system, four Varnas. First Varna is Brahmin, then Kshatriya, then Vaishya, and then Shudra. When I say Brahmin, it means priest, and the main characteristics related to priest is they are known as scholars. Second one is Kshatriya, warriors, and they were known as rulers. Vaishyas were traders and agriculturalists, and Shudras were laborers and service providers. So below these Varnas are the Dalits, the previously referred to as untouchables, who have historically faced several forms of discrimination and exclusion from society. Let us see, the caste system determines an individual's occupation. Ascriptive status. One of the feature of caste system is ascriptive status. So caste system determines an individual's occupation, social interactions, marriage prospect, and often limiting social mobility. Despite legal measures like Constitution of India's abolition of untouchability and various affirmative action policies aimed at reducing caste-based inequalities and systems impact persist in contemporary Indian society. Caste continues to play a significant role in social dynamics, politics, and access to resources. And although urbanization, education, economic changes are gradually altering its traditional influence. Second, after caste system, there is joint family system. This is also another unique feature of Indian society. Traditional joint family system in India is a social structure where extended family members, including grandparents, parents, uncle, aunt, children, they live together under one roof, sharing resources and responsibilities, whatever responsibilities they have. Now, this system is deeply rooted in Indian culture, reflecting value of collectivism, cooperation, and familial loyalty. I will repeat that this system is deeply rooted in Indian culture that reflects the value of collectivism, cooperation, and familial loyalty. So, in a joint family, elders hold authority and they are revered for their wisdom, while younger members are expected to follow their guidance and contribute to household. The system provides, what does joint family system, what are the function of joint family system? Now, such kind of system provides social security, emotional support, and financial stability as resources and duties are pooled together. Resources and duties are pooled together, helping to mitigate the individual hardship. Celebrations, rituals, daily activities are collective affairs, fostering a strong sense of belonging and continuity of traditions. However, with urbanization, increased mobility, and changing economic pressure, the prevalence of joint families is declining, giving way to more nuclear family structure. Despite this shift, the traditional joint family system remains a significant cultural ideal and continues to influence the social familiar relationship in India. Another important point, that is rural society. Most rural society, rural element. So this is another feature of Indian society. Within this community living, rural areas in India are characterized by community oriented lifestyle, where strong social bonds and collective activities are central to daily life. Villages typically feature close knit communities where cooperation and mutual assistance are common and fostering a sense of solidarity and shared responsibility. These are features of rural society. Infrastructure wise, infrastructure in rural regions varies widely, often lagging behind urban areas in terms of development. Many villages still face challenges with access to reliable electricity, clean water, sanitation facility, and healthcare services. Although we have achieved a lot, like and still we have certain areas where such kind of problems are still existing. Means of communication in rural India have seen a significant improvement with an advent of modern mobile technology, enabling better connectivity and access to information, although internet penetration remains inconsistent. When we talk about transport in rural society, transport infrastructure in rural areas is often underdeveloped, with many villages connected by the basic road that can become incompassable during the monsoon season. And we have witnessed this in recent monsoon time. Public transportation options are limited, with buses and shared auto rickshaw being the primary mode of transport. And despite these challenges, rural life in India is rich in tradition. Whatever challenges they have, but they are rich in tradition, they are rich in cultural practices. With agriculture being the predominant occupation and festivals and rituals playing a vital role, community cohesion and identity. Uh, then urban, when we talk about urban society is also part of Indian society, and urban areas in India are marked by vibrant economic opportunities. These opportunities are not there in rural society, attracting people from rural region in search of better livelihood. Cities serve as a hub of industry, commerce, services, offering diverse employment prospectus in sectors such as technology, finance, manufacturing, education, and healthcare. Now, this concentration of economic activity drives innovation and growth, contributing significantly to country's GDP. And however, urban life also represents several challenges. So, if rural society has certain challenges, urban society also has certain challenges. What kind of challenges does urban society face? Number one is rapid urbanization has led to overcrowding, putting immense pressure on the infrastructure and the resources. Cities often struggle with the issues like traffic congestion, pollution, inadequate housing, and strained public services, including healthcare and education. The cost of living in urban areas is considerably higher than rural regions, with expenses such as housing, transportation, and food consuming a substantial portion of household income. Despite these challenges, the allure of urban centers continue to grow and driven by promise of better education, healthcare, and overall quality of life, accompanied by complexity of navigating the urban environment. When we talk about religiosity and spiritual life in India, religiosity and spiritual life are integral to the social and cultural fabric, influencing everyday activities, values, and interaction. Country is home to multiple religions, as we have discussed earlier also, including Hinduism, Islam, Christian, Sikhism, Buddhism, Jainism, each contributing to rich spiritual diversity. Daily practices such as prayers, meditation, participation in religious rituals are common in India, reflecting a deep connection to spiritual beliefs. Temples, mosques, church, gurdwaras, they are central to community life, serving as places of worship, social gatherings. Festivals and religious ceremonies play a crucial role in reinforcing the spiritual values and fostering community bonds in society. If I talk about daily life of people who reside in India, daily life in India is often interwoven with religious and spiritual practices. Many household begins the day with the prayers and rituals and seeking blessings for the day ahead. Dietary habits, dress code, and social customs are frequently influenced by religious teachings. For instance, vegetarianism is a common among Hindus and Jains due to religious belief. And social interaction and community activities are also shaped by spiritual values and promoting a sense of duty, respect, and compassion. With respect to pilgrimages, they are the significant aspect of spiritual life in India, with the millions undertaking journey to sacred sites every year. Now, these pilgrimages, known as yatras, are seen as act of devotion and penance. Prominent pilgrimages sites includes the Char Dham in Uttarakhand, Varanasi on the bank of Ganga, Golden Temple in Amritsar, Ajmer Sharif Dargah in Rajasthan, and Basilica of Bom Jesus in Goa. So the pilgrims often travel great distance, braving hardship to fulfill vows and seek blessings and attain spiritual merits. These journeys foster a sense of unity and collective faith, bringing together people from diverse backgrounds. Spiritual leaders, in India, they hold a revered place in Indian society, guiding followers in religious and moral matters. Figures like we have heard about Mahatma Gandhi, Swami Vivekanand, Sai Baba, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and more contemporary leaders such as Dalai Lama and Sadhguru, they have profoundly influenced spiritual and social thought. So these leaders were they were often guide teachings, writings, discourses, and helping individual navigate life's challenges and find deeper meaning in their life. Their ashrams, their monasteries, their spiritual centers serve as a hub of learning and meditation, attracting devotees seeking wisdom and inner peace. Traditional joint family system, one of the feature over there is patriarchal structure. If you are a student of sociology, then sociology patriarchy is utmost important. Whenever you talk about these things, patriarchy is very important. So patriarchal structure in Indian society is deeply ingrained, and when with men traditionally holding primary power and dominance in various aspects of life. When I say patriarchy is rule and control of male member, and we live in a patriarchal society. This North Indian belt is a patriarchal society. Wherever we are living here, the main karta of the household is father, patriarch. Who's the patriarch? Father of the male member, eldest male member of the family is the patriarch. So patriarchal structure in Indian society is deeply, they are ingrained, with men traditionally holding primary power and dominance in various aspects of life. Now, this system places men in leadership roles within the family, community, and society at large. And while women's role have historically been more domestic and supportive, sociological literature, a lot of thinkers have written about this. And when we teach gender paper to the student, there also we find that the division of in division of labor, men are going out and doing work, whatever work, outside work, and women are doing the household, the domestic chores of the household. So, decision making authority, inheritance rights, and social status are often aligned with the male members of the family, perpetuating the gender based hierarchies. They are perpetuating, matlab they are fixing, pakka or pakka kar rahe hain, but the gender based hierarchies which were there in our society. Cultural norms, practices such as dowry, preference for male child, restriction on women's mobility, they reinforce this patriarchal framework which we are talking about right now. When I say gender roles, I've given a bit introduction of gender roles. Yes, gender roles in India have been traditionally been defined by strict societal expectation. If I am a male, what is expected out of me? And if I am a woman, what is expected out of me? So what does society expect from me? So men are generally seen as breadwinner and protector, in responsible for providing for the family and making significant decisions. Women, on the other hand, are often expected to manage the household, care for the children, and support to their husband. So these roles are instilled from the very young age, influencing education, career choices, and social behavior. Although these traditional roles persist, and there has been a gradual shift as more women pursue education and career, challenging the and redefining these stereotypes. Male dynamics. Within the patriarchal structure, male dynamics often revolve around power, authority, and responsibility. Men are expected to uphold family honor and tradition, maintain economic stability, exhibit strength and resilience, and social interaction among men can be competitive, with emphasis on status and achievement. Relationships between fathers and sons are typically hierarchical, with the expectation that sons will follow in their father's footstep and eventually take on familial responsibility. Male bonding often occurs in social settings such as sports, community gathering, and workplace environment, reinforcing the shared values and norms. Now let us move ahead. This was all about the unity in diversity, and the features of Indian society. Now we are discussing the caste system in Indian society. We have time, so let us discuss this also. What is this is also one of the unique feature. The question can come, you can write in feature, the feature, when the examiner is asking the feature of Indian society, there also you can mention. And if you get a question on caste system separately, independent question of 14 marks or 16 marks, then there also you can, there you have to independently, broadly, you have to write this answer. So India has a strange social stratification. Indian culture is primarily structured around the caste hierarchy. The word caste refers to classification system based on blood purity and derived from Portuguese word caste, which means breed. So India is the only country where caste is still practiced, particularly in Hindu tradition society. So it is widely accepted in society, enforced as divine right. Varna means color in the Sanskrit word for caste. Chaturvarna system is where Indian society caste structure is originated. Four castes or varnas that existed during Vedic era were Brahmin, as I have discussed it earlier also with you people, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Division of labor, occupation served as a basis for this division. It signified not just a profession but an endogamy, marriage within one's own caste, and the idea of contamination and purity concerning dietary restriction, attire, and language. In addition, these groupings were split into multiple jatis and subcaste, and according to variety of jobs that they held. Every group functioned as impenetrable enclosure from which no individual inside the community could escape. The concept of filth and purity led to various crime against poorest members of the society in hierarchy. Higher caste, especially Brahmins, subjected the Shudras, the untouchables, to severe injustice and brutality brutality. Often referred to as Black Period in Indian history, it was marked by certain harsh tradition that denied these marginalized castes their basic human right. So, but following independence, the downtrodden class received a unique position in Indian constitution as scheduled caste, thanks to the outstanding leadership of Dr. B. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, and they were referred to as Harijan, a phrase Mahatma Gandhi invented, or a Dalit, the dejected, as Buddhists who rejected the caste system. Let us see who are the important sociologists. Important sociologists who worked on Indian society as well as caste system in India. So let us begin with number one, L.K. Ananth Krishna Iyer. He was born in the year 1861. His death year is 1937. Journey from clerk to renowned Indian sociologist and anthropologist. He was a clerk by profession, and ultimately he became a renowned Indian sociologist and anthropologist. From clerk to distinguished anthropologist, Iyer began his career as a clerk and teacher before deliberately pursuing anthropology, carrying out ethnographic survey in Cochin and Mysore. So, visionary impact on anthropology education in India. Despite lacking any official training in anthropology, she rose to prominence both domestically and abroad, founding the University of Calcutta's first postgraduate anthropology department in India. So, she was the one who founded the Department of Anthropology in University of Calcutta. When we talk about honors and accolades of L.K. Ananth Krishnan Iyer, the legacy of recognition, honored with titles like Rao Bahadur and Diwan Bahadur, and honorary doctorate by German University. Next is Sarat Chandra Roy, 1871 to 1942. From the Law to Tribal Anthropology and Man in India's Journal Impact on Indian Sociology. Anthropology journey among the tribal society in Ranchi. His contact with tribal tribes in Ranchi led him to go for a profession in law, from law, profession in law to anthropology, which resulted in substantial fieldwork and publication. Authoritative exploration of tribal culture in Chota Nagpur, he became recognized as a preeminent expert on Chota Nagpur regions of tribal culture. Pioneering contribution through Man in India Journal 1922. In 1922, founding of the journal Man in India is a major contribution by this thinker. Indian sociologist, for when we talk about, as in first semester, I told you that sociology is a scientific study of society. And who is known as father of sociology? Auguste Comte is known as father of sociology. But when you talk about Indian sociology, in Indian sociology, who is the father of sociology? Who's it will be Indian sociology, G.S. Ghuriye, Govind Sadashiv Ghuriye, enduring legacy and leading to sociology renaissance in Bombay. He was the founding the future and early contribution and academic leadership. When we talk about leadership of G.S. Ghuriye at Bombay University, for 35 years, G.S. Ghuriye oversaw the first postgraduate sociology teaching department at Bombay University, fostering sociology as an increasingly Indian field of study in the face of little institution and financial backing. G.S. Ghuriye's mentorship and scholarly legacy. Under his guidance, many research scholars flourished and took up prominent position in the field. One thinker you must have heard about, or you might study after completing your graduation, that is M.N. Srinivas. M.N. Srinivas was also important thinker who gave the concept of Sanskritization, who also studied dominant caste in Mysore, Rampura village of Mysore. So he was also one of the student of G.S. Ghuriye, important prominent person in sociology. G.S. Ghuriye, architect of Indian sociology. He has also pioneered the Indian Sociological Society and its journal Sociological Bulletin. G.S. Ghuriye and fellow Indian sociologists in societal exploration. G.S. Ghuriye's in-depth dive into diverse sociological theme, that is, Ghuriye is widely known for comprehensive writing on wide range of subjects, such as he has written on sociology of conflict, integration, caste, race, tribe, kinship, family, marriage, culture, civilization. These are the areas where he has his expertise. What insight did G.S. Ghuriye offer on Indian tribe, and how did Indian sociologists contributed to this perspective? Ghuriye challenged the perspective of British administrators, anthropologists, and made an important contribution to discussion of tribal culture. British administrator anthropologists considered Indian tribe as primitive culture, needing protection from exploitation and cultural degradation. G.S. Ghuriye's perspective on tribe and their continuous interaction with Hinduism was, instead of seeing tribe as a unique cultural group, he said that they should be termed as backward Hindu. This concept is very important. Sometimes some people may ask you, who has given this concept backward Hindus to the tribe? This is G.S. Ghuriye, who has talked about the concept of backward Hindus, and for it is used for tribal population. Ghuriye's comprehensive definition of caste in Indian society is, these are the features which talks about caste system of India according to Ghuriye. That is, there should be segmental division based on the birth, there should be hierarchical division among caste, there should be restriction on social interaction guided by notion of purity and pollution, there should be differential rights and duties extending to secular world interaction, and occupation restriction based on caste should be there. Strict restriction on marriage, promoting caste endogamy and exogamy rules should be there. Although caste practices in Indian independent India are still changing, his definition, which is based on guidelines found in classical texts, promoted a methodological study of caste. D.P. Mukherjee is another important thinker of sociology. So yes, D.P. Mukherjee, he comes in Marxian theory and prominence in academic, intellectual, and public arena. Of the three personalities in Lucknow, D.P. Mukherjee became the most liked and becoming well known not only in academic field of sociology but also in public and intellectual sphere. D.P. Mukherjee, his great teaching abilities and his passionate public speaking at the university function and his involvement in media such as newspaper articles and radio shows contributed to his popularity more than his academic papers did. D.P. Mukherjee, who had a foundation in economics and history, shown a keen interest in wide range of topics like Marxism, political economy, development planning, music, film, literature, philosophy, and both Indian and Western. Marxist theory of intellectual sociology, Marxist ideas significantly influenced his intellectual endeavors, and he valued Marxism more as a social analysis lens than as a political action plan. D.P. Mukherjee wrote a great deal of works in Bengali and in English, greatly enhancing scholars' literary on sociology and other subjects. His book, Introduction to Indian Music, is regarded as classic and trailblazing efforts in its field, demonstrating his multifaceted knowledge and enduring influence. D.P. Mukherjee switched from studying history economics to sociology because he was adamant about India's unique social structure. Here, he emphasized that sociology needed to have a thorough understanding of Indian social custom because they play a major role in defining countries' socioeconomic dynamics. Mukherjee demonstrated how India's social aspect is overdeveloped because, in contrast to West, the country's history, politics, economics have always been entwined with social organization and socialized individual. Mukherjee demonstrated how India's social aspect is overdeveloped because, in contrast to West, the country's history, politics, economy have always been entwined with the social organization and socialized individuals. According to D.P. Mukherjee's sociological inquiry into living tradition, studying tradition should go beyond a cursory examination of the past and take into account how tradition change with time and they become living tradition, adjusting to the need of the present time. So this was all about the main thinkers which are who has studied Indian society. So there are many other thinkers. Two thinkers I've named here. There one is D.P. Mukherjee, G.S. Courier. Then there is M.N. Srinivas. There is S.C. Dubey. There are many other sociologists who worked on Indian villages, rural life. So yes, you can mention all those thinkers also. Yes. So now I'm shifting to chapter number 2 that discusses unity and diversity in India. So India is a plural society in both letter and spirit, characterized by its unity in diversity. A grand synthesis of culture, religion, language among various castes and communities have maintained its cohesiveness despite multiple foreign invasions. Their national unity and integrity have been preserved, and even though sharp economic and social inequalities have hindered the development of egalitarian social relations. So, this synthesis has made India a unique mosaic of cultures presenting a seemingly multicultural situation within a single integrated cultural framework. First of all, what is diversity and what is unity? We say unity in diversity. By the term diversity, it highlights the distinction among different group of people, focusing on differences rather than on inequities. When we say diversity, it focuses on differences. This distinction can include the biological trait, the religious belief, language, and more. Therefore, diversity encompasses a range of races, religion, language, caste, and culture. When I say unity, unity means integration. Integration means एक साथ, इकट्ठा. Huh? So social psychological condition denoting a sense of oneness, we-ness, representing the bond that holds society together. Unity does not imply uniformity. It may or may not be based on similarity. Durkheim described unity born from uniformity as mechanical solidarity common in tribal and traditional society. So conversely, unity based on differences is termed as organic solidarity characterized by modern society. Unity in diversity and diversity versus uniformity. Unity in diversity. When I say unity in diversity, it signifies unity without similarity. It signifies, what does it signify? Unity, but without similarity. And diversity without division. So it is based on the idea that diversity enhances and enriches human interaction. India's great cultural diversity indicates the coexistence of various social groups, communities defined by cultural markers such as language, religious, sect, race, etc. And diversity versus uniformity. Diversity refers to collective differences which mark off one group from another group, such as racial, group, linguistic differences. Uniformity, on the other hand, means similarity of some sort that characterizes a group. For example, when a student of a school or a member of a police wear the same uniform, they show uniformity. However, when group of people come on different races, religion, culture, they represent diversity. Religious diversity in India. India is a home to multiple religions. Yes. So apart from tribal society, many of whom still practice animism, magic, Indian population comprises of in India, Hindus are 82.41%, Muslims are 11.6%, Christians 2.326, 1.99, Buddhists 0.77, and Jains 0.41. Hindus are further divided into various sects like Vaishnavas, Shaivatis, Shaktas, and Samratas. Similarly, Muslims are divided into Shia, Sunni, and Ahmadiyas. With respect to linguistic diversity, languages spoken in India belong to different several language families. Major ones are Indo-Aryan language spoken by 75% of Indian and Dravidian language spoken by 20%. On the other languages belong to Austroasiatic, Sino-Tibetan, Tai-Karai families and few other minor families and isolated. India has world's second highest number of languages after Papua New Guinea. Second highest number of languages when we talk about languages in India. In 1931, census classified India's racial diversity into following grouping: Negrito, Proto-Australoid, Mongoloid, Mediterranean, Western, Branchocephal, and Nordic. It represents representative of the three major races of the world, that is Caucasoid and Mongoloid and Negroid. They are found in the country. India is a country of caste, as we have discussed earlier, and the term caste refers to both Varna and Jati, and Varna is fourfold division of society based on functional differentiation comprising of Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and outside caste. Jati refers to hereditary endogamous status group, practicing a specific traditional occupation. There are more than 30,000 jatis, and there is no single all India system of ranking them. Jati system is dynamic with mobility, allowing jatis to change their position over time, and this upward mobility is termed as, I've mentioned you, M and Srinivas, that is upward mobility is termed as Sanskritization. Racial diversity, I have talked about this. Cultural diversity. Cultural pattern in India reflect regional variations, and due to population diversity, Indian culture is blend of various tradition. Different religion, caste, region follow their own tradition, culture, resulting in variation in art, architecture, dance, and theatre, music, and many more. India span over the area of 3.28 million square kilometers and features a vast array of physical landscape, including the dry desert, evergreen forest, lofty mountain, perennial and non-perennial rivers, long coastlines, and fertile plains. Other forms of diversity in India is, in addition to major forms of diversity as described early or in the above previous slides, India has also exhibit diversity in settlement pattern, that is tribal, rural, urban, and marriage and kinship pattern along religious and regional lines. What are the factors that threatens India's unity? This is very important. We talk about unity. We say that we live in a diverse country, but still, इतना diverse होने के बाद भी we are having unity. So, what are the factors that threaten India's unity? Regionalism, which emphasize regional interest over national one, potentially undermining the national integration and law and order. Divisive politics also play a very important role in threatening India's unity. It exploits caste and religion of the votes, fostering violence and mistrust among the minority. Development imbalance due to uneven socioeconomic policies result in regional backwardness, migration, separatist demand as seen in Northeast. Ethnic differentiation and nativism cause clashes over job competition and resources, and exemplified by conflict between Bodos and Bengali speaking Muslims in Assam. Geographical isolation, such as that of Northeast connected by the narrow Siliguri corridors, leads to separatist demand and um, terrorism due to inadequate infrastructure and economic backwardness. Interreligious conflict that also erode the communal relation and secular fabric of the nation. Then interstate conflict like Kaveri River dispute between the Karnataka and Tamil Nadu disrupt trade and communication. Then external influences such as support from foreign organization. Extremist group incite violence and separatism with ISI accused of aiding militant in Jammu and Kashmir. Despite these challenges, socio-cultural diversity plays a crucial role in sustaining and developing Indian society. And the issue lies not in diversity itself, but in managing effectively to ensure equitable development and cultural recognition of all groups. Salient features of Indian society that rest on unity in diversity are: number one, India as a country is a prime example of its since it has consistently maintained its identity as an integrated nation in spite of numerous racial, cultural, linguistic, religious, and geographical differences. Because religious people in India have always respected each other's goal, values, and country has always positioned itself as an integrated one that is open to welcoming people from all walks of life. Key characteristics of Indian society that were previously discussed perfectly capture the ways in which many forces have shaped the country's diverse yet cohesive culture. Nation's unity has been put to the test on a few occasions throughout the history, like the partition, the communal rights in Gujarat, Karnataka, to name a few sad incidents. However, nation has always retaliated and preserved its ideals. Patriarchal society, and we have discussed this patriarchal society also, where men are controlling the affairs. Majority of Indian society is patriarchal, and nonetheless there exist matrilineal tribal communities in which women hold the majority of decision making authority. So India's few matrilineal societies are the Nayars, the Ejwas of the state of Kerala have matrilineal society, the Khasi and Garo tribes of Meghalaya, the Bant and Bilawa of Karnataka. So in India, patriarchy is still an issue of that primarily affects women at large. A few effect of this are women are still paid 20% less than men for the same job. Uh, Research highlights this fact. They continue to witness an alarming high incidence of domestic violence, which is clear reflection of India's patriarchal society. Another example of patriarchal mentality is that it leads to female infanticide, and feticide is the preference for male child. So in India, kinship and blood ties have great influence on social relationship than other types. Among the most significant social structure is the family. The majority of people on the planet are members of the families, and one important institution in charge of socialization is the family. So group of links and relatives that are founded on marriage or blood relationship are referred to as kinship, and this social institution creates connections and relationship between individuals and group. Tribe, yes, 6% of the total population. Tribe, according to this census 2011. 705 scheduled tribes in the nation, and northeastern area, central India are the two main geographical regions where scheduled tribes are found. Balance between spiritualism, we are left with 10 minutes. We'll take up this one, that balance between spiritualism and materialism in Indian society. So there has long been conflict in Indian society between the materialism and spirituality. Different ancient ideas held that matter was merely the foundation from which complete consciousness could be attained, and matter and consciousness interacted to form other world, that material was all that matter. One of the key figure and innovator of contemporary India is Swami Vivekananda, was well known for his talk on materialism and spiritualism. He stressed the importance of impoverished people's material development in a number of speeches and writings, and humans are spiritual creatures as well as physical material being that exist to satiate their sense, according to Vivekananda. Now, this spirituality is what raised the level of human unity throughout the world. However, spirituality alone is insufficient. He emphasized the necessity of material progress as well. So, Indian society is a mixture. D.P. Mukherjee, we have discussed, Indian society today is a mixture of traditional as well as modern culture. One notable aspect of Indian society is its constant attempt to strike a balance between modernization and tradition, particularly in the light of times that they live in. Indian society is and will always be in the state of flux, constantly changing, evolving. It suggests that the concept of perpetual change is ingrained in Indian society today. Global and regional happening brought many changes in Indian society. One of the important factors that had biggest impact on Indian civilization was colonization, which brought in foreign custom and culture to the country. Technology advances as a result of industrialization, modernization, which also had a variety of other social transformation effects. Rationale and procedure of India's economic development and transformation were predicated on liberalization, privatization, and globalization. A key component of India's modernization and development is the mass media and information and communication technology, and it has social and personal repercussion also. Social movements have influenced change in the past and present in variety of ways. They emerge as a result of certain socioeconomic circumstances and seeks to improve it by altering the social order. Let us conclude our lecture where we have discussed about Indian society, how Indian society was and how Indian society is, what are the features of Indian society, unity in diversity. So transition from Indus Valley civilization to modern globalized globe produced Indian society. Under the impact of external factors, social reforms movement, it has undergone numerous alterations over its voyage. But what makes it special and noteworthy is that it has been able to embrace different aspects while keeping its history intact. So India's unity is under threat right now from the multitude of sources, including the religious extremism and communal violence. Yet India is resilient enough to triumph over these challenges, and Indian society's value system includes the common ideals of democracy, equality, justice, as stated in the Constitution of India. So this was all about my lecture today, where I have discussed about Indian family system and what are the factors that threaten India's unity. We have discussed about unity in diversity. I've discussed about who are the thinkers who have studied Indian society. So G.S. Ghurye is an important thinker who has studied Indian sociology. Indian society, and he is known as father or pioneering thinker of India's